Hi, I'm Gayathri Sreedharan. This afternoon, so it's the afternoon. It's around 3 o'clock India time, Saturday, October 19th, and we've just concluded the Centering Peripheral Foods workshop, which is an outreach event for WWNA, Why the World Needs Anthropologists. Yeah, we did. We had a really fun workshop in, in a suburb of Delhi. We ate a lot of things. We talked about a lot of things. This was an unusual workshop, even for. It's an unusual workshop to do in Delhi. We were exploring flavors and stories from the Northeast, from the Indian Northeast. But even, and we realized this a little later, even for people who attended the workshop who are from the Northeast, some of the flavors that we explored on our plate were new. The stories attached were new. They didn't know about some of the communities that we were referring to. For example, the Lisu, the Chakma communities that we were referring to. And one of the key highlights was essentially through our plate, we got to explore and learn about flavors that are relevant to people who really, really are on the boundaries, even within the Indian Northeast. There are certain stereotypes. There are certain stereotypes about people from northeastern states being largely meat eating, and having specializing in smoked meats, smoked pork, smoked buff, smoked chicken. What they weren't aware of was that there are lots of chutneys, mixes, preparations of lentils, etc., that can be quite similar to foods consumed in the Indian mainstream. So that was a discovery for a lot of people. It wasn't just that we explored the Indian Northeast. We heard stories from stories about peripheral foods and cultures in other parts of other remote corners of India. We even had someone present a story from South Africa, the relevance of Isididu porridge in how it's become more central from being peripheral. Other people talked about their research, doing research in Odisha and doing, implementing programs in this eastern state where diet diversity should be a given, but it really wasn't up until very recently. We've had people talk about writing, writing about Indian food and how that can be changed as well. We've had other people, talk about how important it is going to be in the coming years to recognize what is peripheral and understand the role of the peripheral, figure out when the peripheral is the central in Indian culture, in other cultures across South Asia as well. Yeah, that was part of the discussion too. A really important takeaway for a lot of people was that the peripheral, the concept of the peripheral in itself needs to be questioned. Who makes the peripheral peripheral? If there is, for example, if the peripheral is manifested in food and the cultures around food, but there is so much that is similar between mainstream foods and peripheral foods, then who decided, if it's just a question of preparation, different culture, who decides whether certain foods are peripheral or not? We started off by, talking about describing a sort of tasting menu of different dishes as peripheral. These are recipes that are not known, etc. But the more we got into it, the more we got to explore. Actually, the more we got to realize as a group, this is actually really similar. It kind of hits home. It is comfort food the way lentils rice is comfort food in other parts of India. And so that was possibly the most important takeaway from our workshop.